So there's been a couple of rugby's kind of bad boys who've been in the news a little bit recently. I guess looking forward to 2019, the World Cup, it's going to be an interesting one to follow. Kind of what goes on with them. I mean, the first one is Danny Cipriani. The guy doesn't really stay out of the news for that long. It's disappointing when we see him in the news for kind of off-field dramas, which wasn't that long ago with him. But he's recently been left out of England's training camp for Eddie Jones's squad. So he seems to be on the outer. From what I've seen of him playing for Gloucester this year, he looks to be in really good form. He didn't look out of place in June with England. I mean, one of the passes he did, I think, was it the first or second week of the Premiership this year, was just like a thing to behold. But he is definitely on the outer. You'd have to think that, I mean, Farrell and Ford are probably the guys going forward for Eddie Jones, but I feel like for Cipriani, he's only a bit of good form and staying out of trouble from getting back in the England squad. And I think if there's an injury to either Ford or Farrell, then he's probably back in. But I'm not sure whether this kind of omission is just Eddie Jones saying this is your slap on the wrist, or if he's genuinely saying, you need to keep your nose clean, otherwise you're not going to be in contention. After him, there was James O'Connor. He was the youngest Wallaby in that team for a very long time. I remember when I was at the World Cup in 2011, when he was lining up a kick goal against Ireland and the crowd was chanting Bieber. It was quite funny. But the guy has not played for the Wallabies for a wee while. He's kind of been in the news the last few days for saying that he wants to get back into Australian rugby. He doesn't meet the criteria for for being picked as an overseas player. So he'd have to be playing for a Super Rugby team to be in the mix for the Wallabies. He's putting his hand up. I'm not sure who would take him if he was, really to look for a job back in Oz. I mean, his last stint with the Reds was a pretty big failure, really. I mean, there's no way Brad Thorne would have him. The Rebels, I guess, potentially are an option. The Brumbies are bringing in new recruits. I wouldn't have thought the Waratahs, but hey, I mean, I guess you never know, because they did give Zach Gilford a chance a few years ago. So they've been known to kind of take guys in who've, had their issues. The Force, I think, have kind of said that they wouldn't mind having him, but I'm not sure how that works with the Wallabies at the minute, because I was under the impression if you're playing for the Force then you can't play for the Wallabies, but I'm not sure how that situation's going to work out going forward. So for James O'Connor, I think he's probably a much longer shot than for Danny Cipriani getting back into England. I think he would need to get a team, firstly, and I think Beale would probably have to have issues for him to get in there, or one of those other kind of utility players who plays multiple positions. So I would say at the minute for him, it's very much a long shot. The next one, less so of a bad boy, although we definitely don't like him here in New Zealand. He's not very popular, is Quade Cooper. It looks like he's going to go to the Rebels. He doesn't seem that far away. They do need a number 10, kind of an out-and-out 10. I believe Tamua's going there, but from the looks of things, the way the Wallabies want to play him at 12, then he won't be at 10. They've tried Reece Hodge at 10, but perhaps that's kind of not his destiny. They had De Brasini last year as kind of, well, this season just gone, as kind of cover, and he played 2/3 of the season at 10. But they could definitely use an out-and-out 10, and Quade Cooper would be that guy. Whether he gets back into the Wallabies, he definitely needs to get a team. If this Rebels thing's panned out, that could work out well for him. But then going forward, does he replace Foley? I think he's definitely still going to be behind Foley and Beale. Those seem to be Cheika's guys, but I mean, Cheika's already kind of said that he's not going to pick him unless he's playing Super Rugby, so getting a team is definitely paramount for him. I'd probably give him a better chance than James O'Connor, but obviously James O'Connor can cover a lot more positions than Quade, so they're going to be interesting ones to watch. I'd like to see Cipriani at the World Cup, because he's, he does those kind of electric things that, talented players can do. These two guys, sometimes they don't seem to play well together when Cooper, Beale, and O'Connor are there together. But if you can get the right coach to settle them down, you never know. I mean, in New Zealand, it's kind of a mixed bag because, like I said, with Zach Guilford, when he was on the outer, we never kind of let him back in. He was, he was kind of shunned by the All Blacks and couldn't find that form that had him in the team as a youngster. And but other guys like, Corey Jane and Israel Dagg had an incident in the 2011 World Cup, but it didn't seem to affect their careers kind of long term. So I guess it kind of depends on the coaching staff. If these guys can get back in the good books of the people at the top, you never know. But you guys let me know your thoughts on these three guys, kind of controversial characters. Do you think they'll get back for their national teams between now and 2019? It'll be an interesting one to follow. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.